Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I'm Peter Gross, co-host of the original Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins and Jim Fowler. When Wild Kingdom aired in the 1960s and 70s, many episodes documented wildlife research efforts. Marlon and Jim accompanied scientists all over the world to observe animals and their natural behaviors. Some of the techniques you'll see in tonight's episodes are no longer necessary by today's standards, but the work is still just as important. Wild Kingdom took viewers to the far corners of the world and cultivated an appreciation for animals and their habitats. Marlon and Jim showed us the importance of preserving the natural world, not just for animals, but for our quality of life. And that's good news for all of us in the Wild Kingdom. So sit back and enjoy Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Hello, welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. The ways of the wild may seem strange to us because we've never seen them before, or because we don't understand them, or because they're so odd that we can scarcely believe them. Now, would you believe, for example, that a chimpanzee such as Mr. Moke, star performer of the chimpanzee show here at the St. Louis Zoo, is ticklish and will laugh out loud? Oh, that laugh, that crazy ticklish sensation here. He loves it, and he pulls your hands back to do it over and over again. And this ticklish thing here often ends up in a play period. Well, many of the animals here at the zoo like to play, and sometimes the behavior is so unusual, well, such as with our grizzly bears. To the constant delight of zoo visitors, our grizzly bears carry on a continuing game with the fountain in their pool. If a scientific explanation is needed, it's possible that the grizzlies are extremely possessive about their enclosure. They'll investigate anything new in their territory. For all we know, however, they may be just making sport of it, the way children like to play around a lawn sprinkler or an open fire hydrant. Just as the grizzly bears have a strange reaction to a man-made water fountain here in the zoo, so some of the soaring birds of South Africa have a strange reaction to another man-made object. Jim has the whole story right here.
This rather odd-looking bird is called a lammergeier, and is sort of a cross between an eagle and a vulture. It feeds on carrion part of the time, but it's also capable of killing its own prey. And because of those long hair-like projections under the lower beak, its common name is the bearded vulture. But this nests on cliffs in South Africa, as do many of the other vultures in the area. And when I was down there, I heard of a very strange behavior that happened whenever a glider pilot sailed just a little bit too close to the cliffs where these birds roosted. So I decided to go up in a glider and see for myself. In Johannesburg, I teamed up with Heine von Michaelis, one of South Africa's champion glider pilots. Our destination was the nearby Macaliesburg Range and the roosting cliffs of the giant Griffon vultures. The field is more than a mile above sea level, and in that thin air, it takes a long run to get a glider off the ground. After we cut loose, a second camera glider joined us. As soon as we reached the area of the roosting cliffs, I witnessed the strange behavior that I'd come to see. A vulture appeared off the wingtip and held its place there. We were quickly joined by another vulture, and you might have thought that they had been trained in formation flying. The fact is, the vultures seem to take the glider for another bird, a big bird that has found a good thermal and is riding it upward just the way they do. So it appears that they're smart enough to go along with a good thing when they see it. It's strange but true that a glider pilot thus finds himself acting as squadron leader for a flight of vultures.
Jim, that's an exciting way to observe the unusual behavior of the soaring birds of South Africa. And now, while you put Mr. Lammergeier away, I'd like to introduce the principal character in a strange but true adventure that I witnessed with our wildlife photographer, Warren Garst. A ground squirrel started this adventure by digging a hole. It was a perfectly ordinary hole where he could escape if danger threatened, except when danger takes the form of a badger. The ground squirrel is instantly on the alert, for no hole is a sanctuary from this champion excavator. So the ground squirrel abandons the hole to the badger, who promptly sets about enlarging it to suit his own considerably larger proportions. Coyotes often tag along after badgers, for when the industrious badger flushes game from a hole, the wily coyote can make fast work of any that try to escape. But this is no happy partnership of mutual understanding. The badger has claimed the hole as his and his alone, and if the coyote tries to muscle in, he'll find the badger won't run away as the ground squirrel did. While the badger's off chasing away the coyote, meanwhile back at the hole, a passing skunk finds it a likely temporary shelter from the sun. Judging from the traffic here, it would seem our ground squirrel dug his hole right on the main animal expressway. It doesn't take the badger long to discover that he's got company. The badger may have won the argument, but the skunk really has the last word. For without a doubt, he left his calling card. Well, little ground squirrel, you really started something. Say, you've been doing a lot of sniffing down there. We've noticed that many of the animals here at the zoo have strange reactions to odors. I'm going to try this little ground squirrel on the strong odor of a disinfectant that's used here. Now, he has a perfectly good sense of smell, and I know he can smell it, but there isn't very much reaction there. Jim is on his way out to the lion and tiger arena with a bucket of this same disinfectant to try on a big tiger. I think you'll agree that that tiger's reaction is a pretty strange one. With Jim now is Jules Jacot, veteran animal trainer and impresario of our great lion and tiger show. They're spreading some disinfectant on the floor of the big performing arena. And as soon as they're safely out of the cage, here comes Mr. Tiger now. Will he notice the disinfectant? He smells it all right, goes right straight to it. And now watch him. If you've ever given catnip to a house cat, you'll recognize the performance. Our big cat reacts in the same way to the disinfectant. First a funny face, then a reaction of sheer delight. Cats seem to be more strangely affected by odors than many other animals. This may be due to their close familiarity with their established territory in the wild state, causing them to be more sensitive to any unfamiliar odor found within the territory. Quite often when we see the strange behavior of animals in the wild, it's because of great patience or just sheer luck. Over the years, our wildlife photographers have recorded some of these rare moments that normally go unnoticed. For instance, my friend Bill Miller was photographing winter activities of grouse when some coyotes appeared in the area. Now, grouse are pretty fast. They take off as though launched from a catapult. Coyotes normally go after much slower game, but watch. They actually came close to catching the grouse. I've always known that coyotes are quick, but I never knew how quick until I saw these remarkable pictures. Here's another fast number, a little spermophile, a kind of ground squirrel. It might look as though he's trying to hide in the snow, but I think that since he's an expert at digging tunnels, it's just easier for him to travel through the snow than over it. Although we often talk about people locking horns, we rarely see the real thing in the wild. But here are two deer that in their battling have interlocked their antlers beyond any hope of escape. Death would be their certain fate, except for the fact that a game warden happened to find them. There's only one thing to do to break the deadlock. A well-placed shot snaps off a bit of antler, and a well-placed kick finishes the operation. Here's another strange but true incident from the camera of Bill Miller. Now, there's nothing strange about a fox catching a mouse or eating one. But here we have a mouse that just won't give up. The soft snow helps him slip away from his antagonist, and if you watch closely now, you'll see that even the lowly mouse, faced with almost certain death, is capable of acting with great courage. It's a strange instinct that makes a small animal stand up against such odds. Frequently when animals meet under less serious conditions, they bluff each other until one yields. Jim had an experience like that recently in Africa.
It was an experiment to see if a game warden and I could outbluff a big bull elephant. And we were in an area where there were lots of elephants. Wanky Game Reserve in southern Rhodesia. Wanky is one of the most remote of the African game reserves and is one of the largest. I was to conduct the experiment with Chief Warden Bruce Austin, a man who has spent much of his life in the most remote areas of Africa and knows elephants well. He offered to show me that even though they can be very dangerous, it's strange but true that they can also be quite timid. We headed for a waterhole favored by elephants. On the way, we saw giraffes, and then came upon a big bull elephant in scattered brush. Only in a game preserve could we approach an elephant this way. Where they're hunted in the wild, They're so afraid of man and his gun that they'd run away long before you could get this close. Austin decided that since the big tusker was alone, this was a good opportunity for me to have my first go at elephant bluffing. We were trying to aggravate him just enough to make him stop, and he did. For a moment, I wasn't sure he was bluffing, but I knew I was. If I had run, or if we had got too close to him, Austin said that he would have been compelled to attack. Instead, he moved on a short ways and then hid behind a bush. Now this would be a good test. He was still not certain he could take us on, and we bluffed him a little bit more by socking him with a small stick just as he was about to begin a charge. This even confused him more. So far, so good. But that was with a single bull. We decided to try it with a group at the waterhole. We waited until only the bulls were present, because in family groups, the instinct of the adults to protect the young would be too strong to bluff away. We picked a spot where we had sure footing, since if either of us should trip, an elephant would most likely take advantage of the opportunity to charge. This was tricky business, and Austin measured each of their movements with our safety in mind. The bulls arranged themselves in a defensive circle, but soon one of them mustered the courage to break out and try to scare us away. And he meant business. No sooner did we bluff him down than another turned on us. And I tell you, it's quite a sensation standing up to one of those giants, knowing that if you turned to run, he'd quickly run you down. I was mighty glad not to spoil Austin's perfect record of never failing to outbluff an elephant, and to find that under these conditions, elephants really are afraid of men.
Jim, even though you've proved that it's possible to bluff an elephant, it's an activity I would never recommend to anyone inexperienced in handling animals. Whether they can be bluffed or not, an elephant is still a very dangerous animal. Now here's a bird that you might think would use that great big bill to bluff with. But Growler, a toucan from South America, is really a very peaceful character. As large as that bill appears, it's very light in weight. It's hollow inside and supported and strengthened by thin sheets of bone like crumpled tissue paper.
Well, Growler eats fruits and berries, and that long beak is very handy for picking them, holding them, and then tossing them down the hatch. There are many strange things about a toucan. For example, that tongue. The tongue is hard and long and sort of looks like a feather.
He's a pretty strange bird, all right. Growler came from the Amazon River Valley of western Brazil, which is where I got this mask. Crude as it is, it's one of my most valued treasures. It was given to me by a Ticuna Indian. The Ticunas have adopted white man's dress, and many of them have adopted his forms of religion. Yet still, through the centuries, they've preserved many of their ancient customs, one of which is the strangest that I've ever witnessed. This is the initiation of a Ticuna Indian maiden into womanhood, a ritual that's been forbidden by law, but is still practiced in secret. From out of the jungle come the monkey men, their masks and their costumes symbolizing the evil spirits that dwell in animals. The bravest men in the tribe challenge these evil spirits to drive them out of the village. Meanwhile, the initiate is brought out of confinement, where she was instructed in tribal lore and the responsibilities of womanhood. select women of the tribe paint the maiden's body and adorn it with stripes of softest down, according to an exact pattern prescribed by ancient ritual. When the evil spirits have been driven off, the ground is sanctified for the approach of the initiate. The shell of a turtle, ancient symbol of fertility, accompanies the girl as she's marched around the village in a final test of her strength and endurance. Then she is led to the traditional spot where every woman of the tribe has knelt in submission to the ritual which completes the transformation of a girl into a woman. Her hair is drawn up and tied tight. In a hypnotic trance, the girl feels nothing as one by one every hair is plucked from her head. Hours later, the initiate's bald head is adorned with a magnificent headdress, and she is clothed in a robe of many-colored feathers, which is the tribe's richest treasure. In this traditional bridal gown, she is in truth an Indian princess. For the final rite, she's been led to the river. The fine feathers are removed, symbolizing the shedding of pride, preparatory to the ultimate ceremony of purification by water. By willingly submitting herself to pain, the girl has sought to master pain. She is prepared to accept the responsibilities of womanhood with a mature understanding of what life means to her, according to the laws and traditions of her people. We call the customs of the Takuna Indians strange, but after all, that's only our point of view. I'm sure that a Takuna visiting our land would find many of our customs strange. Strange and to him utterly incredible. Mr. Moak, you can't drive away the evil spirits with that mask and protect us. The Takuna Indian is not so strange when he takes off his mask. And when we're familiar with Growler and his habits, his big beak doesn't seem so odd either. But having knowledge of an animal's habits or what lies behind its behavior doesn't mean that it's less exciting for us to observe. On the contrary, it makes us appreciate those moments when we observe rare behavior, and we realize whether it's the characteristics of a species or that of a single individual, there are many things left to wonder about, things that remain strange but true in the wild kingdom.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Like what you saw? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more exclusive content. And visit our website at wildkingdom.com.